Hey guys, today's episode is inspired by one of my favorite YouTubers, Megan Rosette. If you don't already know of her channel, I encourage you to check it out. She has tons of great beauty and fashion videos, as well as some pretty entertaining vlogs about life. A few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of meeting Megan in person, and she told me that she'd love to entertain and throw a party, but the tricky part is that she's gluten-free and dairy-free, and the challenge can really be putting together a menu with those two dietary restrictions. Well, Megan, you know me, I am always up for a challenge, so I have designed for you the perfect gluten-free, dairy-free menu that is so delicious and so summery, no one will ever know the difference. We're going to kick things off with my cucumber mint sparklers, a refreshing little drink that's non-alcoholic. Then I'm going to show you how to make an elegant shrimp cocktail with homemade cocktail sauce. For our first course, it's a velvety sweet corn soup that gets its richness from a secret ingredient. And for our main, it's salmon en papillote with summer vegetables. And for dessert, my homemade peach mango sorbet with coconut macaroons. If you like the looks of this menu, you can also subscribe to my own channel, Entertaining with Beth, where each week I will show you simple recipes, elegant enough for entertaining, but simple enough for a weeknight meal. Okay, Megan, I know you have a birthday coming up, and I think this menu would be the perfect thing to celebrate your special day. And the best part is you can have it all made in advance before your guests even arrive, and all you have to do is push a few buttons and serve. How great is that? Okay, Megan, so every party is always made a little bit more festive with the help of a cocktail. Now, because I know you're underage, we're gonna make a mocktail instead. That's basically just a cocktail without the alcohol. I love this recipe because it's festive and fruity, and it'll make you feel like you've just taken a trip to the spa. So the first thing you're gonna do is take out your blender. Then you're gonna peel some Persian cucumbers. These are the little cucumbers that look like miniature cucumbers. They're great because their seeds are very, very small, so they work well when you use them in blended drinks. To that, we are going to add 20 mint leaves. 20 is my new favorite number. Then we're going to add some lime juice and some agave syrup. Go ahead and give that a good pulse. You just want to make sure that all of those ingredients are nicely pureed. Then you're going to take out some glasses, fill them with ice, and then pour the glass about halfway up with the mixture. Then you're going to top it with a little lime-flavored sparkling water and garnish with a fresh sprig of mint. And you will see, you will have one delicious little mocktail. It'll definitely set your party off to the right tone and have your guests feeling completely refreshed. Okay, Megan, I know that you're a seafood lover, and when I think of seafood for an appetizer, I can't help think of shrimp cocktail. Now, shrimp cocktail sometimes can get a bad rap, and that's usually because people are steaming the shrimp. It sort of sits there lifeless looking on a plate without any herbs or spices, and chances are people have used a store-bought sauce. Nothing against store-bought sauces, but once you actually make your own homemade cocktail sauce, you will never go back to that stuff in a bottle. It's that good. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is prep our shrimp. Now for something like this, I do use frozen shrimp. You really won't be able to tell the difference, and it is a lot more affordable. I like to get the big pound bags at Trader Joe's. They're really inexpensive, and it'll just feed at least 4 to 6 people. So you want to defrost your shrimp, and usually the easiest way to do that is just to take that bag and set it in the fridge overnight. Then you're gonna give your shrimp a good rinse, and I do like to keep the tails on the shrimp. That is because those little tails will serve as little holders as your guests dip the shrimp into the cocktail sauce. Then the other thing that I like to do, which just makes for a more elegant presentation, is to take my knife and up the spine of the shrimp, just give it a light scoring. We don't want to actually cut into it and butterfly it. We just want to give it a scoring so that as that shrimp roasts, that shrimp will sort of come apart a little bit, and it'll just make for a more elegant, beautiful presentation. Then in a large bowl, you're going to combine some minced garlic, some olive oil, salt and pepper to taste, just a pinch of red pepper flakes, and some freshly minced Italian parsley. Stir that up just to combine, and then we are going to toss in our shrimp. You're going to give them a good stir just until everything is well coated, and then go ahead and transfer your shrimp onto a rim-lined cookie sheet. You're then going to roast your shrimp for about 5 to 6 minutes, just until it becomes pink and opaque. And you'll see the shrimp will start to curl up a little bit, and you'll start to see that beautiful shape that I was talking about. Then go ahead and pull them out, and really you can let them rest at room temperature. Now, if you're making this well in advance of the party, you can actually pop it in the fridge. Shrimp cocktail is really meant to be served either at room temperature or cold shrimp, so you don't need to actually keep them hot. Next, we're going to get on with creating our homemade cocktail sauce, and it couldn't be easier to do. In a bowl, you're going to combine some store-bought ketchup, some zest and juice of a lemon, some prepared horseradish, which you can find in your supermarket, typically in the refrigerated aisle, a few dashes of your favorite hot sauce, and some salt and pepper to taste. And that's it. Your homemade cocktail sauce is done. And then to serve, you're going to take out your favorite platter. In the center, you're going to add a little bowl for your cocktail sauce, and then go ahead and lay your shrimp all in and around the bowl. And I do like to garnish it with a little fresh sprig of flat leaf parsley. And there you have it, an easy homemade appetizer that is summery and delicious and will definitely impress your guests. I love the idea of a soup for a first course. It's always very elegant and impressive, and people always think you've spent hours making it. The thing is it's so quick and easy to put together, especially when you use frozen corn, that no one needs to know that it hardly took any time at all. So the first thing you're going to do is to take out a large stock pot. To that you're going to add some olive oil and some diced white onion. Go ahead and just cook those onions up just until they're nice and soft and fragrant. Then you're going to add your frozen corn. Now if you can find the white corn, even better. I just think it's a little bit sweeter, but if you can't, the yellow corn will work just as well. And if you wanted to, you could even use fresh corn in this recipe, but the frozen corn is really just as good. And I say, you know what, save yourself the effort. Then you're going to add some vegetable stock. And now here is my secret ingredient. Because we're doing a dairy-free menu and we still want our soup to be creamy and delicious, we are actually going to use a potato. I know, you might be thinking, what, a potato? But the starchiness of a potato is going to create a consistency of a soup that will really mimic cream. Every time I make this soup or any vegetable soup that I want to be creamy and I throw in a potato, people taste it and they swear there is heavy cream in it, when in fact there's not, it's just a potato. Then you're gonna put your lid on your pot and let that cook for just about 10 to 15 minutes. You're really just looking for that potato to become soft and tender. Then you're gonna take your soup and transfer it to your blender and puree it up in batches. The reason why you wanna really do it in batches is it'll just help that soup puree a lot smoother and quicker than if you dump the whole thing in. If you dump the whole thing in, you're gonna end up with a lot of chunks at the bottom. Then you're gonna pour your soup back into your soup pot. And at this point, you want to check the flavoring. If you feel like it needs a little salt and pepper, go ahead and add salt and pepper to taste. Then while your soup is being kept warm, you can prep your garnishes. So I love the combination of corn, basil, and tomato. They are classic summertime flavors that are always so delicious and refreshing. So you're going to take some basil and just slice it very, very thinly, what's called a chiffonade. It just looks a lot more decorative and elegant. Then you're going to take some cherry tomatoes, cut them in half, and then into quarters. You just want to create small pieces that'll be easier for your guests to eat. Then you're going to ladle out your soup into some soup bowls, top with the basil and the cherry tomatoes. And there you have it, a creamy, elegant soup that is completely dairy-free. Your guests will definitely be impressed when you bring this to the table, and it hardly took any time to make. One of the things that I know that can be stressful for people when entertaining, especially newcomers, is getting the timing right. Getting your main course and all your side dishes to be done at the exact same time without losing your cool can sometimes throw people into a tizzy. Believe me, I have been there and I know what that is like. That's why I love this recipe, is everything is basically done at the same time and there's hardly any dishes. So we are gonna make salmon en papillote. Now, don't be intimidated. The title is actually harder to say than the dish is to make. En papillote is basically a French term that applies to anything that is cooked in paper. And in our case, we're going to be using parchment paper. The name comes from the French word papillon, which means butterfly. And you'll see when we make our little packets and they puff up, they look like the wings of a butterfly. So the first thing you want to do is prep our parchment paper. We're going to be working with pieces that are 15 inches wide by 30 inches long. So go ahead and prep 4 of those. Then you're going to fold them in half and then take out a pair of scissors, and you want to cut like a large half circle, but more of an oval shape. Kind of looks like a big teardrop. Then you're going to open those like a book, and you'll see you'll roughly have the shape of a heart or a type of butterfly. So take that parchment paper and put it on a cutting board, and then you're going to take 2 to 3 sprigs of flat leaf parsley. Place it in the center of one half. Then you're going to take 2 slices of lemon and place that on top, and then you're going to add a 6-ounce piece of salmon. Just make sure the salmon has the skin removed first. Then we are going to add some sliced leeks, some sliced zucchini that have been cut into matchsticks, and some cherry tomatoes. Make sure that you cut the cherry tomatoes in half. It'll just be easier for your guests to eat that way.
Then add some baby red potatoes that have been cooked in the microwave for 5 minutes.
Then we're going to create our sauce, which is essentially just a tablespoon of olive oil, a teaspoon of fresh lemon juice, salt and pepper to taste, capers, and some minced dill. And that is basically it. Then working from one end, you're going to create a fold in the parchment paper and then another fold on top. And continue this pattern all the way around the perimeter of the packet, making sure that you're really getting a good seal. You want a good seal because this fish is going to be cooked by the steam that is created from the inside. And if you have any leaks, that steam is going to escape and it's not going to be as good. The nice thing about this recipe, Megan, is you can have this all done before your guests even arrive. And then just keep your fish packets on your cookie sheet in your fridge. That way, when it comes time to actually cook the fish, all you have to do is pop it in the oven and press the button. You then want to roast your fish from anywhere from 10 to 12 minutes. I do recommend checking it at the 10-minute mark because there's nothing worse than overdone, dried out fish. And what you can do with these papillotes, which is so nice, is you can actually pull them out and do a sneak peek. So take one corner of it, open up the packet, and then take a knife and just insert it in the thickest part of the fish. And what you're looking for is for that salmon to be completely opaque and cooked through. You don't want to see any dark pink raw spots. If you do, that's okay. You can just seal back up your little packet and pop it back in the oven for about another minute or two. Then when it comes time to serve, it's also easy. All you're going to do is take one of your fish packets, place it on a plate, open it up, and cut off the top. It is actually meant to be served in the paper. That way you will not disturb any of those beautiful juices that have developed. At this point, I also like to garnish with a little fresh dill and a lemon wedge. When you bring these to the table, your friends will think you are so fancy schmancy. It is very elegant, it is completely impressive, healthy, gluten-free, dairy-free, and was a snap to make. So now for dessert. I know when it comes to birthdays, we are all attached to our birthday cakes. But when it comes to being gluten-free, I have found the only flours that really work are nut flours or rice flours. And Megan, I didn't want to send you all over town looking for these exotic flours. So instead, I thought we would make a delicious sorbet using one of your favorite fruits, a peach. Now the best thing about this recipe is that you don't need an ice cream maker to make it. How great is that? So we're going to start with some frozen fruit. Now I like to start with the frozen fruit because that way your sorbet is halfway there and it's going to take a lot less time for it to set up in your freezer. So in your blender, you are going to combine a pound of frozen peaches and a half a pound of frozen mangoes. I like the combination of peach and mango because it's sweet and summery, but it also feels a little bit exotic. Then you're going to add 2 cups of white grape juice, some fresh lime zest, and some agave syrup. Go ahead and blend that up until nice and smooth. Then transfer it to an airtight container and sprinkle some sugar on top. The sugar will help make your sorbet less crumbly after it's frozen. And basically your sorbet is done.
Now this will take at least 6 hours to set up in your freezer.
The best thing to do is really make it the day before and then it can sit in your freezer overnight. Then to serve, I like to place the sorbet in a fancy glass. Any ice cream becomes immediately more elegant if you serve it in a fancy glass. You can use a martini glass, you can use a wine goblet. I really like to use my vintage margarita glasses. Go ahead and place 2 to 3 scoops per person. And then you're going to serve this with one of my favorite little nibbles, a coconut macaroon. So on the cookie continuum of 1 to 10, the coconut macaroon is a 1. It is that easy to make, which is a little bit ironic considering the French counterpart, the macaron, which is a 10. That is the hardest cookie to make. So we're not going to make those, we're actually making the coconut version instead. The other nice thing about these cookies is they're really easy to make gluten-free. The other nice thing about this recipe is that we're not using the sweetened condensed milk. Most traditional macaroon recipes will call for this, but because we want to make it dairy-free, we're going to skip it altogether. And the nice benefit of that is they end up not being as sweet. So with an electric mixer, we want to beat up 4 egg whites and a pinch of salt. You really want to use an electric mixer for this because I find that you just can't get those stiff peaks that we're looking for with a wire whisk. You're going to beat those up just until you get those nice stiff peaks. Then you're going to add a little bit of almond extract. And then you want to fold in your sweetened coconut. I really like to use the sweetened coconut because then you don't have to add any additional sugar. The coconut is sweet enough. Now you want to make sure that this batter is well mixed. You'll know that it's well mixed when the coconut starts to really stick to itself. That is what we want because that is what's going to help hold our cookies together. If you have a mini ice cream scooper, those do tend to work really well. That way, all of your cookies will end up being the same size, which will then allow them to bake at the same rate. You can go ahead and portion out about 12 cookies, just allowing them about 2 inches apart. It's not that they're going to spread, but you don't want them to touch and stick together. So go ahead and pop them in the oven, and you want to bake just until they're set up and nice and golden brown. Now, 2 tips I will give you for these cookies. Tip number 1 is make them the day of your party. They're really best when baked fresh. The other tip is you don't want to cover them with any foil or put them in an airtight container. They have a tendency of attracting moisture, and when moisture gets into them, they become kind of soggy and mushy. They're best left on a cake stand uncovered at room temperature. That way they will retain their crispness, which means you'll have a nice crunchy exterior and a smooth and creamy interior. The flavor of almond and coconut is the perfect flavor pairing for peach and mango. You will also see that this is such a wonderful light summery dessert, and when you tell people you've made your own homemade sorbet, they will be completely impressed. Okay, Megan, if you're ready to tackle this menu, here's your game plan. The day before the party, you can make your soup. Blend and transfer to an airtight container and pop in the fridge. Make your sorbet, transfer to a freezer-safe container and place in the freezer. You can also make your cocktail sauce and keep refrigerated. The day of the party, you can assemble your fish packets, place them on a cookie sheet, and keep refrigerated. You can also prep all the ingredients for the cucumber sparklers, put them in your blender, and keep that in the fridge. Then all you have to do is press blend when your guests arrive. You can make your macaroons, keep them uncovered at room temperature, and 30 minutes before your guests arrive, you can pop in your shrimp to roast. 10 minutes before you'd like to eat, warm your soup on the stovetop, and right before you sit down to start your soup, pop those fish packets in the oven. After dinner, all you have to do is scoop out your sorbet and bring the cookies to the table. So there you have it, my gluten-free, dairy-free menu. Megan, I hope I've convinced you how easy it is to entertain with a special diet. I hope that you give this one a try and let me know how it goes. And I will be rooting for you every step of the way. If you get into a jam, you know where to find me, and I will be there on call, ready to help. And from everybody here at King Community, we are all wishing you a fabulous birthday. We hope that you entertain in style and all your birthday wishes come true. I'll see you next time.